Moving on now, the commander of US forces in the Pacific says tensions between China and Japan are likely to grow unless the two countries talk to each other. Admiral Samuel Locklear was speaking to journalists at the Pentagon. Now, this comes as Beijing criticized Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe after he called for military restraint in Asia. Mr. Abe's comment at the World Economic Forum on Wednesday was seen as a thinly veiled swipe at China. Admiral Locklear also says Washington and Beijing must do more to improve their communication following a near collision between American and Chinese warships in the South China Sea in December. Our US correspondent Lorna Shattuck with more.
The US commander in the Pacific held this press conference in the context of remarks he made last week, somewhat controversially, expressing concern about the rise of Chinese military dominance, both in the air and at sea in the Asia-Pacific region. He said Washington needed to work together with Beijing to help secure the region, but did express concern at this press conference about whether that would be able to happen.
Both in the region and in our mill-to-mill relationship, that we need to move forward to allow that type of direct dialogue in crisis situations. We've said this on many occasions. I know that Chairman Dempsey, Secretary Hagel, and at that level that there are an occasional attempt and opportunities to have dialogue at that level. And would that work at the time of a crisis? We would hope it would work. But internal to the PACOM AOR, I don't have the ability to pick up the phone and talk directly to a PLA or PLA Navy admiral or general at the time of a crisis, and we need to work on that.
But it's not just the US and China who need to work on communication, said Admiral Locklear. China and Japan also need to exercise restraint when it comes to the Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands, administered by Tokyo but claimed by Beijing.
Well, I am concerned. I would say that I think there's any time you have two large powers, two large economic powers, two large military powers that have a disagreement that they're not talking to each other about, that has no clear diplomatic end state in sight, that the risk of calculation can grow, because you will have in this case, you have primarily maritime security forces that are in and around those contested islands. But those are, in many cases, those are young, young naval officers or young civilian mariners who are out there going to making those decisions.
As for China's air defense zone, he said the manner of the announcement was unhelpful.
The fact that they established an ADIZ, I think, is less concern to me than the way that it was done. It would have been better if it had been announced and had been discussed with the neighbors and with the partners in the region. And it had some caveats inside of the way they established that we fundamentally don't agree with and will not acknowledge.
The commander said he was also concerned about North Korea's new young leader, saying Kim Jong-un's decisions could have potentially worrying consequences for the rest of the world.
In fact, unpredictable, I believe, is the best way I would say it. I think that his behavior, at least the way it's reported and the way we see it and sense it, would make me wonder whether or not he is always in the rational decision-making mode or not, and this is a problem.
Overall, the commander was confident that the Obama administration's much-trumpeted rebalancing towards the Asia-Pacific region would continue to grow in the coming year. He highlighted a joint defence review with Japan and forthcoming operations together with Australian forces. But it's clear that for him, how to work together with Beijing and combat the rise of China in the region remains America's biggest challenge. Lorna Shattuck, Channel News Asia, The Pentagon.